Are you a fan of bone-chilling tales and spine-tingling suspense? Do you long for the days when horror zines ruled the night, delivering terror and thrills with every page? Then you need to check out Worms Horror Zine. Worms Horror Zine is your ticket to a time when horror was raw, gritty, and downright terrifying. This throwback to the classic horror zines of the 70s and 80s is packed with original horror fiction that will keep you up all night. But that's not all. Inside each issue, you'll find chilling articles, devilish games, mind-bending puzzles, and so much more. Each page is a journey into the unknown, crafted by writers and artists who live and breathe horror. Whether you're a longtime horror fan or just discovering the genre, Worms Horror Zine is your ultimate companion for all things creepy and crawly. And guess what? Worms Horror Zine is proud to sponsor the Right Brain Cafe podcast. So, while you're feeding your creative spirit with this podcast, why not feed your darker side with Worms Horror Zine? Visit bookwormshorror.etsy.com and get your worms today. Unleash your inner horror fanatic with Worms Horror Zine, if you dare.
This is the second episode of season 2, and this is 50 Shades of Gaiman. I'm going to give you credit, Regina.
Oh my gosh.
Separating the art from the artist.
Right, and we're not just going to talk about Neil Gaiman. But
no, I have a list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to kind of talk about how you feel about maybe some of these people. Would you continue to watch or listen or whatever with these people? You sent me something that I didn't know this happened from Dave Grohl.
That just happened last night.
Yes.
Poor Dave Grohl. Okay, let's do a trigger warning about this episode.
Okay, you do the trigger warning.
Okay, I think in this episode we are going to be discussing some topics that deal with sexual or accusations of sexual misconduct. Let me put it that way, which some people may find offensive, and we may be laughing at some of it, which some people may find offensive.
Yeah.
Because I did laugh at the Dave Grohl thing. I mean, I don't mean anyone pain, but just because it's Dave Grohl.
Yeah, let me read it. And there might be also stuff of just physical violence, because some of these people who have been canceled or whatever have been maybe they haven't committed sexual violence, but they have physical violence or
if they've had unpopular opinions, perhaps.
Yes, that's some of those are on my list. So Dave wrote last night, I recently become the father of a new baby daughter born outside of my marriage. I plan to be a loving and supportive parent to her. I love my wife and my children, and I am doing everything I can to regain their trust and earn their forgiveness. We're grateful for your consideration toward all the children involved as we move forward together. I don't know, that last sentence is weird. We're grateful for your consideration toward all the children involved as we move forward together.
Well, because he has kids with his marriage. I'm guessing. I don't know anything about his personal life.
My thing is, what do you mean by for your consideration? Meaning don't bother them? Is that what they're saying?
I don't know. That is worded strangely.
So this is brand new. It came up. I don't care, honestly. Like
I don't either.
Like this is him doing some kind of damage control. And to me, you're a rock star. Like I almost feel that's par for the course. You know, like I'm not approving of him cheating on his wife and having a kid with another woman. Like but it's not my business either. I
know. Well, that's why I laughed, because I thought, geez, if I was going to like get with a rock star, it wouldn't be Dave Grohl. I mean, he always kind of had the more of the average guy, kind of less dangerous reputation. But that's another thing I want to talk about is the difference between a public figure, a famous person's reputation versus real life. Of course, they're very different. But I think any man with a lot of money and power is going to attract, and even some who don't have a lot of money and power are going to attract people, and things get complicated. Why he has to make an announcement about this, I'm not really sure.
I guess they figure it's going to come out and he wants to be ahead of it. I think
Yeah.
my concern would be more so if he was not being supportive of the child. He has the money, so you know what? He's got to probably figure out what he's going to do to keep his family together. That's his issue. But if he was like, if we came out that he had a child and he did not support that child, especially having the means to be able to do that, that would upset me.
Well, you know what I think he's taking a noble stance on this in a way. Like, you know, like when Arnold Schwarzenegger had a child with his housekeeper.
Right.
And did you see the documentary about him? It was really good.
I did.
He's had an incredible life, but
yes.
I thought the way he handled it was really as noble as you could be about it. You know, it's like, I made a mistake. I screwed up my marriage and everyone's upset, but my son is my son and I acknowledge him and I'm his father. You know, that's the best thing you can do in that situation.
Yeah, so if you are an artist listening to this and you might think, I'm not that famous, but I would think that if you're trying to make it in your career, you got to think about what you're doing today, because that's going to come back and bite you in your ass. You know, so if you're like not a good person, because I was saying like this episode's kind of basically about, can you support artists that basically came out to be like pieces of shit?
Right. I just want to say off the bat, I'm not shocked by any of this. Like, I don't really think of people as like pieces of whatever. It's sort of like, why should I be surprised? People have complicated lives. I mean, unless they do something severe.
Right. I think we're going to go the gamut here of like what we probably don't like. This is like an extramarital affair that ended up in having a kid. He's telling it. But would that stop me? Does that stop me from listening to Nirvana or anything that he's put out with Foo Fighters or whatever? No. I mean, even if he didn't say anything and I found out secondary, I still wouldn't care.
No, because the love child that they used to call it is not that shocking. It happens a lot. And
especially if you're a rock and roll star.
Especially if you're, well, even like royalty has had that. Other people, it's sort of just, oh, okay.
Yeah, not that us saying this does not mean we approve of these actions. It's just
no, we don't want to say that. Yeah.
It's just that the question comes up. Since we're talking about Dave and its music, let's talk about R. Kelly. Okay, now here's...
well, that's a different situation.
Well, yes, it is. But the question is, I never listened to R. Kelly, so I have no problem saying I'm not listening to him anymore, because I never did.
Oh, okay. Right. Well,
right?
I didn't either.
But some people really love that song, I Believe I Can Fly. So the question is, here's a guy who's done some awful stuff. Can you listen to the music? And my problem is, where is the money going? All right. Because I'm the type of person that I don't go to Chick-fil-A because I don't support that company, because I don't believe in their politics. And so,
yet there's a line as long as you can imagine.
I know, isn't it crazy?
At the Oxford Valley Mall. Chick-fil-A.
Everywhere.
I never go there, but I can't believe how long the line is.
It's not that good, people. It cannot be that good. Although my friend Chris thinks it's amazing, but I will not support them, right? Because I don't want my money going to a company that I don't agree with where they're putting their money. So then that is where we're talking about, can you support the artist, R. Kelly, if you know it's going to him? Like, if he was dead, then, you know, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, look, Harvey Weinstein is in jail, in prison. He probably will die in prison for what he did. But I'm not going to stop watching a Miramax film. I brought up music first because I was going to say, when it comes to film, though, there are so many people involved. I mean, there's a lot of people involved with making an album, but I'm saying, in general, making a film, there's not just the producer, right? There's the directors, the actors, the entire staff to put that movie out. And to stop supporting that is to stop supporting all the people who helped make that. Yes, that's true. A film is very collaborative, and he was a producer, one of a team of producers. But I think when it comes to supporting a recording artist, that's like a singular. At least it feels that way.
It does.
A singular thing where I don't like this person anymore because of what they did. But I don't feel that way about Dave Grohl. I like the Foo Fighters. I love Nirvana. It's one of my favorite bands. And I wish him and his family the best moving forward. I just think it's weird that you have to come out and make a public statement about it. It's a little odd.
But that's the culture we live in. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to go back in history here because this not real far, but back to 2006. Because,
that seems so long ago.
I know. But that's when Michael Richards, who played Kramer on Seinfeld,
Oh, I remember that.
had that breakdown at the Laugh Factory where he used the N-word yelling at the audience because they were heckling him. Now,
that was out of control.
It is. It's if you want to see it, go on to YouTube, and it's just here's watching somebody basically have a breakdown.
Wow.
And he has not recovered from that. And literally this year, I just found an article that he's put out. He either is putting out or it just recently put out a book called Michael Richards Entrances and Exits. And it's his memoir or whatever. Here's a guy I never liked to begin with. I'm not a big fan of Seinfeld.
Me neither. I've only watched a few episodes.
I never liked Kramer either. I never thought he was funny. But when he did this, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
He ruined his career. And he's
It's really
never
hard to come back. I think that is really hard to come back from when you are like screaming like racist words at somebody, like, and it's all recorded.
Oh, yeah. And the thing he's like, I'm not racist. I'm like, you know what? You kind of are because I've been mad and I'm not yelling that to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not coming out of my mouth.
That's not going to come out of your mouth when you're, on the brink of being really upset about something. But I do think some people do come back from cancellation or whatever. And I think look, I'm a Catholic, and part of my faith is that there is always a road back. Go to confession, you can rebuild, but it would take some humility, I think, for Kramer to come back from that.
If you are a fan of Seinfeld, I don't see anything wrong again with watching that, because you watching Seinfeld or listen to R. Kelly or listen to the Foo Fighters does not mean you condone the actions of the people who created this art.
Yes, I agree with you, but there are some people who don't feel that way. They just from what I've read on Twitter and stuff of the reactions to Neil Gaiman we were talking about has been like I went on a deep dive about the Neil Gaiman thing because I was so curious. I wrote a book, Carney, as you know, you read it, about a character who was canceled, a journalist who was canceled. So, and that character really came out of me hearing all these stories and reading about them and being kind of like morbidly fascinated and also a little freaked out about it. It was like, ooh, this is like pretty severe. People can overnight can lose their job. They can lose everything in one fell swoop. And I got into that character about what that would feel like to go through that. So I'm fascinated with the subject. And with Neil Gaiman, I was never a Neil Gaiman fan, but I'm on Reddit looking at some of the Reddit sites, and some of the fans are devastated.
I think it is devastating.
Was uncovered about him.
I think it is devastating. Well,
we should probably just say what, if people don't know, he was through a podcast media called Tortoise, which you could find online. There's I think it's 6 episodes so far, maybe more, of different women. It spans decades, coming forward and claiming that Neil Gaiman, maybe it's not anything maybe illegal, but certainly I'm trying to put my words up. They're accusing him of, yes, questionable. It's the way he treated people, very young women, and also he paid a lot of them off and a lot of money. He has a lot of money. He's very wealthy, and he's on one of the episodes, he's actually on the girl recorded the conversation of him offering her money basically to keep her mouth shut, $60,000. It does not square with the persona of his public image. And I think that is where the issue is. Like we discussed this before. If you're going to get into the, let's say back in the 80s, if you're going to go into the tour bus of a rock band like Motley Crue, let's say back at you might expect some things to happen, right? Like you would be prepared for that perhaps, but I'm not saying it's right. But if someone like Gaiman, who cultivated this persona of being the male feminist, you might not know what you're getting yourself into when you go into his tour bus, which is what happened to one of the girls, allegedly. So I've been fascinated with the story.
And I think you brought up a good point, is that when people are devastated about this, it's because those girls or these women who are going on to the tour bus or whatever, he has a reputation that they feel safe, that they are going to be in a safe environment with Neil Gaiman, and it turns out they possibly are not in that safe environment. As a writer, I did read a lot of his books. I think he's a fantastic writer. If I go and buy one of his books, I am supporting Neil Gaiman. I think unless they get convicted of something, then the money might go to, if it's like deemed the royalties can go to the victims or something, but I don't see that happening in this case. So am I supporting him? I think if you still want to read Neil Gaiman and you don't want to support him, you can find his books used at bookstores and stuff like that. I guess that's an alternative.
I don't have a lot of Neil Gaiman, but I certainly, just for being online, just saw him so much in his masterclass commercials, and just his image was of like the cuddly, ruffled college professor type, which kind of reminded me of that Animal House with Donald Sutherland, that character.
Yeah.
And he like is fooling around with the girl. It's a certain type. I've never been attracted to that type, but some women are. And when we were sitting, I was thinking about Gaiman, because a lot of these women who are coming forward, several of them are young, very young, 18-year-olds, early 20s, and he's in his 60s. So that's, come on. He picked them up from some of his tours, and he's like, goes to bookstores and does his speeches. So for Gaiman to kind of take advantage of that, I think is not a good look. Let's put it that way.
Right. But knowing that, would you buy and read one of his books?
I have his book, like a compilation of the Sandman comics. Mm-hmm. That would not stop me from reading it. But I do have to say, I felt like I got roped into the hype when I bought his book on Norse mythology, because I'm very interested in Norse mythology. And I found the book to be, I think I did a small review, a short review on my channel. I felt it was well written. It was really, it was well written, but it wasn't very expansive. To me, it felt like he wrote this book, it didn't spend a lot of time on it, and he made some money on it, probably quite a bit of money on it. And I fell for the Gaiman hype there. So I don't see myself buying his products in the future.
But that's not based on this, though.
No, but I'll tell you what, I would be be much more wary about his public image now. Now he's remained completely silent from this whole thing went down. So it'll be interesting to see if he'll pop up again and if he'll make any kind of statement or what the deal is.
There's a book that he wrote called Art Matters, Your Imagination Counts, or something like that. And in it, I read it recently because this was coming up, and it's a real short book. You can probably read it in an hour. He talks about when bad things happen in your life, the way you got to deal with it is to make great art. And he goes down a list like, you've been through a divorce, make great art. You found out you're sick, make great art. And he's going on, and I'm wondering.
You've been accused of sexual assault.
Yeah.
Make great art.
Is he doing that? Is he going to take his own advice and continue to write and put something out, or is he going to kind of disappear?
I don't know. I mean, what I would find interesting is I hope the man doesn't hurt himself. I never want that to happen to anyone. But he did on one of the episodes, one of the girls was struggling with the aftermath of this, what she described as an abusive relationship with him, where he was doing like S&M on her that she wasn't really welcoming, or I don't know. So it was pretty messed up, and she ended up in a mental hospital. And then he's calling her saying that he's going to kill himself if she Me Too's him. And I'm thinking, is this manipulation or what? Or is this guy like, I don't know. And it's a really interesting story because he's also, he was raised in the Church of Scientology, which I didn't know about.
I didn't know that either. And
his father was a high ranking member in the UK. And that Neil, who was, this wunderkind, was like auditing people as a 12-year-old or something. So he knows a lot of techniques on how to manipulate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's something very shady about this guy. I would be interested to hear his side of the story because there are always two sides.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that he wanted something from these young women and he managed to find a way to get it. Is he off in his island off New Zealand and doing like soul searching, maybe, or writing his great book about it? That would be interesting.
Well, I mean, that's what Michael Richards said, that the last 17 years he's been in therapy and trying to find out why he's so angry, and he's
that's a long time.
Yeah, and this book talks about that incident, and it's like, but that's the same playbook. It's literally be the bad man you want to be, and if you get caught, now you're going to seek help so you can understand why you are this way. And it's like, you're only doing that because you got caught, and it's the same,
well, maybe and maybe not. I mean, you could have, look, like I said, I believe in redemption. You can have all of our lives, if you're taken apart, are messy, and we've all done things we're ashamed of that we wouldn't want to be judged for in a public place. So, always kind of keep that in mind. I do feel there's a road to redemption, but you have to be sincere about it.
Yeah.
If you just say, I'm going to spend more time with my family and go to therapy, doesn't really cut it anymore. I think Gaiman, he spent a lot of money to have things suppressed on the internet, like to have posts removed. There are all these bot posts about what a great writer he is on Twitter. Like we've gotten a lot more sophisticated about these things now. We know what they are. We can recognize them. And he's paid off a lot of people and hired a lot of lawyers. But now things are starting to happen with, I think one of his shows on Netflix was canceled. Another one is not being renewed, or they're pausing it. The one, what's the one with the two angels?
Oh yeah,
Bad Omens.
Oh, Bad Omens.
No, I don't know if it's Bad Omens. Was paused, and like that sucks for the people involved in those projects.
Yeah, I was just
going
to say that was a good series, and it is a shame that gets stopped because of him. But everybody wants to distance themselves from it. Like even Joe Hill wrote something like, "I'm shocked to find out this," because I think they've worked together, or Stephen King worked with him. I mean, he's been up there with everyone.
Oh,
everybody's worked with Neil Gaiman.
He's huge.
Yeah,
he's huge, and it's just I just don't think you can treat people like that for a long time without it surfacing at some point.
Well, I would say, so let's jump over to Joss Whedon. Now, he is the creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, yeah.
He directed the Avengers movie, and it came out that he was... he actually did get away with this for a very long time. And I think it's like when the Me Too thing started happening, people started saying how people were acting, they didn't realize that, like, if that didn't happen, he would still not be, accused of this stuff.
Yeah.
But what he did apparently is also, like, he was very abusive on the set. He was extremely controlling. And here's another guy that basically says his whole career was like powerful women and bringing women up and making them, being the big feminist. Like, that's his whole thing was, I'm this huge male feminist, and that's why Buffy was a power, character.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes out he wasn't that way. And even some of these people are saying that he was more like the jerk off male characters he wrote, not like the, that's
funny.
Like, he was demanding that the Buffy robot, which is basically the sex robot, be dressed a certain way. And the wardrobe person's like, can we just get this? Like, and then he like grabbed her arm and was squeezing it real hard and like screaming at her. And like,
wow.
It was a very uncomfortable, situation to be in. Also, he had affairs with some of these young actresses and had stated, like, I don't like it because, like, after the fact, it kind of stinks because it ruins the power dynamic, which he wants to be this power in control. And, this is nothing new for
Hollywood directors and producers, that they used to do this this was the standard playbook.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe now just things have changed where people are saying and people are speaking up, and women are like, no, we're tired of this abuse. And
yeah. Now, I would still watch Buffy. I would still do that because I like the show and I like the actors and things like that. But I'm going to switch now to Woody Allen.
Yeah.
That documentary is hard to watch. There's one, I think it's on HBO or Cinemax, whatever they call it now.
Oh, with Mia Farrow and her daughter. And yeah, that was painful.
I can't watch a Woody Allen thing after watching that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know
what? I haven't watched a Woody Allen. I used to be such the Woody Allen fan. I watched every movie that came out every year. It was like an event because he was producing a movie a year for a very long time.
So,
I won't stop watching a Woody Allen movie, but I don't seek them out. It has been a little tainted, I have to say.
Here's my reason, and I think it's pretty obvious. Woody Allen stars in his movies. I have to see Woody Allen, and I don't want to see him. On Buffy, I never see Joss Whedon. Like, I know he was part of it. But if I had to watch it and he was in it every episode, I probably wouldn't watch it anymore. I have a hard time watching anything with the guy, House of Cards. What's his name? Kevin Spacey. Yeah. And I'm like, that's tainted. And it's to the point where I have to see that guy. So if I actually am watching them, it's harder for me to support it. So I won't watch Woody Allen, even though I won't say I was a big fan. There's some movies I like. Purple Rose of Cairo, I think, is a great movie. But he's not in that one.
Right.
So I can watch that. But again, I won't support him only because, one, I think he's really creepy. But I don't want to watch him because I know all the creepy stuff. And it's just going to come out in my head.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But here's one you and I will probably say we would still watch is Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
But
he does star in some of his movies.
Some of them, but
I won't stop watching Rosemary's Baby.
Right. But what he's accused, I think, of just, what was it? A young girl in a hot tub?
He was convicted. He was convicted of rape.
Okay.
But he fled the country.
Yes. And so, again, if I see him, maybe. But I'm trying to think, what is he in?
He's in the Fearless Vampire Killers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
some other films, and he is pretty much of a genius film director. Like Chinatown. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Chinatown. Do you think, though, that since we're so distanced from it in the time, that it doesn't feel as weird as if we were going to watch or listen to R. Kelly or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it so long ago that...
Well, the victim came out. She actually wrote a book about it and says, I forgive him. I've moved on, And she's even friendly with them. She hangs out with them.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't think. Look, Jerry Lee Lewis is one of the greatest rock and roll musicians from the early era, and he got canceled for marrying his 13-year-old cousin. But that wasn't that unusual for people in the South.
No, look at Elvis.
Yeah.
You know,
So should we have missed out on all that amazing music because
so that's
of that?
I don't know. Like that's
No, I really think that in that case it was a different time, and
because it was well known that like Priscilla, how old she was and what was going on. It wasn't like, and I don't know if everybody agreed with it across the board. I'm just saying, no, you're right. It was a little bit more accepted in a weird way. I don't know how we can see it today, but
yeah,
that's a good question. If you could stop an assault from happening, but lose the art in the process. It's almost like if you could go back and kill Hitler, but this isn't really Hitler. But like if you could go back and be like,
don't do that, Roman.
Yeah, and stop Roman Polanski from doing it, but not have anything like, but in exchange for saving that person, there's none of his movies. You don't want to answer that, that's like, but that is how do you separate that where it's like, because he does, the fact that he did this doesn't, like him not doing that doesn't mean he still can't make great movies. It's like not required for him to rape in order to have good movies, So
right.
Like then we're saying like, it's hard. It's hard to say what should I support? What am I supporting? Like who am I supporting? But again, you have to follow the money. I think at this point, I don't think Roman Polanski. I don't know if he gets any money if you're watching Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think about it when I watch the movie or any of his other films. I kind of I'll think about it maybe if I see him in a movie. It's like, oh yeah, Polanski. Weird.
All right, let's jump over to J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling has not like assaulted anyone, but she has views against trans women that basically
are controversial.
Yeah, they are. And so another person who's like that too, I'd have to look up her name, but she was in Star Wars, The Mandalorian.
Do you think in general artists and actors and public figures should just stay out of some of these topics and just do what they do?
Yes. I don't think you should get into, I don't know why J.K. Rowling has to speak up about it.
When J.K. Rowling first had her statement, I remember reading that and think, okay, I feel like I understand where she's coming from. I don't say I totally agree with it, but it just seemed to become her main focus. And that's a little weird,
Yeah, I think, well, here's another one like Neil Gaiman, who has a crazy amount of money. Like she is unbelievably wealthy. She owns a castle. Like,
yeah.
The other actress is Gina Carano. She plays.
Oh, right. She's like conservative or something.
Yeah, she also I think's against the trans thing, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But I know she got canceled from Star Wars. She spoke up, and I agree. I think if you're in the limelight, it's stupid. Keep your opinions to yourself. I mean,
we all have opinions, but when you are famous, you have more of a platform, so you have more responsibility when you do spout off on Twitter or something. I mean, someone like Stephen King is who I follow I follow him on Twitter. He's very vocal about politics and very left leaning.
Yeah, and so is his son. Yeah,
but I think he does it in a way that is reasonable. But someone like Kathy Griffin, was that who it was with the decapitated Trump head? Remember that one? Like that canceled her because it just took it over the line into something.
However,
distasteful.
It's also the time, because back in the early 90s, I remember Eddie Vedder impaled a mask of Bush on the mic stand.
Oh.
And people were like, he did that, but that didn't hurt him, and nobody thinks about it now. But Sinead O'Connor burned
I know, I was just thinking about that.
The Pope picture, and that killed her. So
that killed her career.
Yeah. And, it's tough. Like when it comes to art, is it your responsibility to speak up? No, I don't think so. And I think that you really got to be careful. It has to be something you're willing to die. Like you have to be willing to die on that hill.
It does have to be something a hill you're willing to die on. I think that's a really good point. And if they really feel that strongly about it, then okay.
Right.
But it's, I mean, I think Sinead O'Connor was coming from a background of abuse, and I think she's in a lot of ways a very tragic figure. I remember when she did it, being Catholic myself, although I was a lapsed Catholic at the time. I thought I was offended by it. I thought, oh, she's really like, is this necessary? But she had her reasons, I guess, and I don't agree with them. But I honestly don't think she should have been canceled. I think that artists should be able to express their opinions about things. I just find when artists get too political, I get annoyed, and I probably turn off. It's like, that's not why I'm listening to them. I don't want to hear their opinions about things. Plus, I'm just sick of politics in general.
Yeah, but you did bring up a point earlier. You said they have a platform.
Yes,
they have a platform. Is there responsibility when you are an artist and you have a platform that you should say? I mean, I think it comes down to your core beliefs. Like Taylor Swift has an amazing platform. I mean, she could probably sway
the election.
Yeah, exactly. She could. And I think she really has to have that in her inner self that's like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm willing to sacrifice my career because I believe in this so much. But if you're going to cry about it after the fact, then don't do it. Like if you don't realize, hey, I'm going to say this thing and, oh God, why did I get canceled? Well, you should know better.
Yeah, like Tenacious D.
Yes.
They had some about after the Trump assassination attempt.
Yep.
And I actually think Jack Black didn't handle that well. I think he should have said, hey, it was a joke, lighten up, he the guy apologized for being tasteless instead of like, we're going to cancel the whole tour, but maybe they got death threats. I mean, who knows?
Well, I think Jack Black,
their managers are probably tearing their hair out. What idiot? That's so stupid.
I don't think if he said what you suggested, it would have went over well. It's a joke. Just
Really?
Get over it. No, people would have been like, oh, cancel Jack Black. So don't go become Jack Black's PR person.
Oh.
I don't think it would have worked. I don't think we're in that
Really?
society.
You wouldn't stand up for your friend?
Well,
Because it seems like he turned his back on his friend and threw him under the bus.
Yeah, I think you're right. But Jack Black is also like thinking about his career. I don't know what I would do because I don't want to be in those positions, No,
I don't either.
I don't think, like, why should I, like, if you and, like, again, it is a joke, but that's not the world we're in. And I just don't know, like, if I'm with my friend on stage and they say something and I'm like, holy shit, why'd you say that? Now we got to figure, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's like, if I'm either going down with you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough call.
Or maybe, like, I support my friend, but I acknowledge that what he said was idiotic and I don't support it.
Yeah. I think he should have said something like, look, he just said the wrong thing. It's awful. We don't want that. But he's supposed to be a funny guy and something. Because, that's another thing. Comedians have a really hard job right now.
It's a tough time to be a comedian.
Yeah, because it's like you should be able to be dangerous. And you should be able to say certain things because comedy is supposed to poke at things.
Yeah, and like if you don't like it, I mean, I do think like in some instances, hey, if you don't like what, like I was not a fan of Andrew Dice Clay when he was very sexist kind of comedy. I wouldn't find that entertaining, but I feel he has the right to do it if people want to pay and listen to him. He was acted in a Woody Allen film that was actually very good. So I saw a different side of him. But I think people get a little worked up about some of this stuff.
Yeah, because it's hard when it's just it's obvious when it's like somebody sexually assaulted somebody. Okay, there's clear black and white.
like an R. Kelly situation was,
Yep.
or
Clear,
Harvey Weinstein.
black and white. Yeah, here's these people. They did awful things. It's now out in the open. We can't not say that's wrong and we don't want to support you. But having an opinion that's about something, like J.K. Rowling's fans, I mean, she had them in her hand.
Yeah.
They would have done anything for her. And now they are not. They love Harry Potter. They will not like her, though.
I know. Think about all the people who are fans who are trying to get their Harry Potter tattoos removed and stuff. Like she had like diehard fans. I've seen so many Harry Potter tattoos.
Yeah. But I also think that Harry Potter hasn't suffered because of her.
I was never a Harry Potter fan, so I didn't. It didn't bother me.
I'm not a big fan, but everybody I know.
I just think it's strange that she's made this her focus so much that I don't know. I think she needs to rethink.
Well, do you think
some things?
Do you think creative people, when they reach that sort of, it might not just be creative, anybody who reached that level of success are so removed from the world that they don't understand what's actually happening? So here's a good example. I don't
know. Maybe they understand it better than we do. I mean, maybe they're seeing stuff that we don't see. I don't know.
But I mean, saying that to talk right, but you're talking in a way that's like, how do you not see that this is not doing you any favors? You know what I mean? Are they so removed?
Yeah, well, maybe they either they believe that strongly in their view, or they are kind of removed. I mean, I think someone like Neil Gaiman felt maybe completely, and I'm just going off spitballing here, but I think maybe he felt like his money could protect him from, he could pay these people off.
Yeah.
And even though he didn't do anything, let's say, illegal, it was sleazy.
Yeah.
And it's directly in contradiction to the image that he put out. And I think that's the part that I'm, as a dramatist, or I consider myself a dramatist, I like to see what's behind the mask. And that's what I find so fascinating about his characters. He was the feminist, he's the guy wearing the pussy hat at the Women's March, like this kind of thing. Those are the ones you have to watch out for. I'm speaking as a woman here. They're sneaky. You got to watch those. If the guy is out there with it, like if he's an Andrew Dice Clay character, you know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Someone like Gaiman.
He's a Trojan horse.
He's a Trojan horse. He's the guy that's going to like give you the back rub at the party, and next thing you know, you don't
remember what happened, and your pants.
You don't
are down.
remember your pants are down. See, we're laughing at the stuff, so that's our trigger warning.
If you truly believe in certain politics, I think it's better to say, this is what I believe, and stick to your guns than to wishy-washy back. Because let's look at it this way. Let's say you're anti-trans, right? And you say something about it. Now, the people who are also anti-trans will be on your side, right? The ones who are not will be canceling you. Then, on the opposite side of that, now you're like, you know what? It's not really what I meant. I meant this. Well, guess what? All the people who canceled you are still going to cancel you. They're not going to take your stupid apology. And all the people who were on your side because they agreed with you are now hating you for, you're not on either side of the fence here. You were standing.
You should keep your mouth shut about certain
keep your mouth shut. Maybe. But if you say something and you really believe it, stick to your guns, and then that's who you are. Be open about who you are. I don't agree with that. I'm not saying I think you should be anti-trans. I'm saying, though, if you're going to have an opinion that, like we said, you're willing to die on that hill, then you stick to it. Because the minute you go and say, well, I didn't mean that.
Sometimes it makes it worse if you try to apologize.
Yeah. Like, who are you then? What do you really believe? If you don't believe in anything, you're just going to say whatever you feel like you believe in at any given moment. And I think when we're talking about creation and art, I think that what matters most is being true, like truth. That's how your art, being true to yourself and your art, and not being a big phony. If you do enjoy art from somebody who's been canceled or for whatever reason, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you're supporting them in some way, that's a whole different thing. And I mean support financially. Like if there's somehow you're giving them money, I don't know. I'd find ways that you can continue to do what you're doing without supporting them.
I just want to end with this because Ollie Clark, or Criminali,
the
YouTuber, did a video on this. And he made the distinction between supporting artists and giving them money as opposed to like a dead artist. Like he used the example of J.K. Rowling, I think, and then H.P. Lovecraft. Because H.P. Lovecraft was an infamous racist.
Yeah.
But are you going to stop reading Lovecraft if you're a fan? I mean, I didn't really know that about Lovecraft. I was not a Lovecraft fan until, I don't know, close to 20 years ago when I worked on a Lovecraft film. And then I started reading his work and I was like, oh, it was kind of shocking. But when I was out in Portland, Oregon, which is a very progressive city, they have the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, which I went to twice. And they also have a lot of Lovecraft represented in their stores and things like that. But one time I was there, the last time I was there, I think I was at, what is the name of the huge bookstore? Gosh, why can't I remember? It's this enormous bookstore in the center of Portland. And there was a picture of H.P. Lovecraft, and I saw this woman who had her kid, and she's like, punch him in the face. And the kid's like, why? And she's like, just do it. I thought, okay, that's an interesting response. So, yeah, I'm not going to stop reading Lovecraft. And I was never a Harry Potter fan, so I don't really.
But you know what? I just realized, like, we're talking about very famous people, but there have been, you have talked about how some people, even YouTube people that in the small little communities, how they get canceled and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also, you know, for if you're going to be posting on social media, maybe making YouTube videos, you know, you got to be careful. So check yourself before you wreck yourself, as they say, before also, you post something.
You should never be canceled over your religious or your political beliefs, in my opinion. And that's like, maybe you shouldn't be like telling everyone about them if some people are going to be upset, but that's a private matter, as is Dave Grohl's situation.
Yeah. And I think, you know, across the board, there's two sides of this. The artist needs to just, you know, create and don't offend anyone, like, unless that's
Is that possible?
I don't know if that's possible, I guess, but unless that's part of your shtick, you know.
Well,
because I mean, I believe in offense in art a lot. I think that art should push boundaries, but there's got to be a reason, not just to be like, there's no reason to be racist.
No.
Right? But there might be a reason to bring up something that offends a racist. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like if you can offend somebody to be a better person, or look,
you're always. I mean, if you're an artist, and I'm speaking from my own position, if you approach something afraid to offend someone, you're going to paralyze yourself. So, I mean, I've written things that have offended people, like my character Dag. In my book, I was mentioning offended some readers.
That's a good topic we talked about.
Yeah.
If you have opinions about this, sure, let us know in the comments on YouTube or on Bookworms Horror Zine on Instagram at Bookworms Horror Zine. That's all we got.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk next week.
Next week. See ya.
Bye.